Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
How to reopen the schools in the time of coronavirus. Tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian. Thanks for joining us as we continue to do the show remotely. I am pleased to be joined today by Dr. Joris Ray, Superintendent of Shelby County Schools. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Along with Bill Dries, reporter with the Daily Memphian. So, Dr. Ray, the task before you and the schools and the parents and the students is daunting, to say the least. You have begun to talk about the reopening plans for the fall. Why don't you give us just a quick outline of what you all envision to safely and effectively reopen everything from kindergarten to senior year of high school?
So first of all, thank you for having me again. It's about student and staff safety. My team has worked countless hours over the last few months. Of course, you know, we were one of the first to close back in March, and we were shelter in place, and before state of emergency or the city or the county, again, it's about safety first. We've had a number of meetings and solicit input from our teachers, parents, community leaders, just to ensure that we're doing the best thing for our students, and that's what it's about. It's about how do we go back to school safely. As you know, we've worked tirelessly to have a return stronger commitment to parents and to teachers. The day will be different. As you know, our school district, we plan to have school on August the 10th. Of course, the governor issued or extended the state of emergency until August 28th. And with any plan, they change. And that's why in our SAFE plan, the F in SAFE is flexibility. So we're giving parents a choice. You can attend school in person or virtually. Now, let me say this. If the numbers continue to rise as they're rising on a daily basis, not only within Shelby County, the state, and the nation, we're gonna do what's best for our students. We're gonna do what's best for our teachers. We have a plan to start, if the board approves the schedule change, on August 31st. However, if the numbers continue to rise, we're gonna remain flexible, and we'll go online virtually. We'll have instruction virtually, and what we try to do is to ensure that whether it's in person or virtually, instruction will not be compromised. So, you know, yeah. I just want to calm all fears about student safety and safety first.
So, there's so many questions. So I'm trying to figure out where I start.
Sure.
One is if you're doing in-person classes, will you be doing? Will people be wearing masks? Will there be temperature checks? And will there be social distancing? And what level of testing will be going on?
Excellent question. So this is the new normal. The day will look differently. When students arrive, the temperatures will be checked. Students will be required, and teachers, anybody coming into the building will be required to wear masks. We want to leave it to the, of course, the classrooms will be spaced, social distancing, 6 feet apart. Classes aren't as large. The way we walk down the halls will be different. The way that we have lunch, recess, hand washing will be a part of the schedule. Sanitizer stations. I can go on and on to promote safety for in-person instruction. As far as testing, we want to leave it that to the health officials. I'm an academician, not a pediatrician. However, we support whatever the city, the state, the county, whatever they come up with around testing. And we think that's a public health issue that we want to support. But as far as the school doing testing of teachers and students, that's not something Shelby County Schools we're equipped to do.
One more question and I'll go to Bill. If you said that the option for online learning for parents, families that make that choice, if you get forced back into the situation you were in the spring, where all the schools were online, it was obviously, and this is a national kind of awakening to the issue that many, many people don't have a computer at home or don't have broadband, good internet at home. And it is obviously impossible to do what we're doing, a video conference call, without those two things. Have you made what is your thinking on that? If you get forced back into a situation where you can't have the schools open physically, how do you fairly teach people when not everyone has a computer or broadband?
You know what? That's a great question. Back in February 2019, prior to the pandemic, I petitioned the board and not only that, the county commission, to move to a one-to-one school district. That means every child with a device. That was February 2019, far before any talk of the pandemic. We wanted to be a one-to-one school district. That means every student receiving a device. So let's fast forward to March 2020. Everybody was asking, Dr. Ray, what are we gonna do? We're out of school and our students need to learn. I said, well, we talked about this February 2019. But since then, the board so graciously approved in June 2020, 95,000 devices for every student in Shelby County Schools, so that now this no longer will be an issue. All of our students will have a device. We're a one-to-one school district. Teachers will be trained this summer. Parents will be trained this summer. We've already had training, I want to say last weekend, of parents. And also we're gonna give hotspots to parents who doesn't have any internet connectivity. So we've put steps in place to ensure learning will occur, learning will continue. This is one of the largest device deployments in the nation. And so we'll be doing that over the next few weeks. You'll hear more about it. But every student will have a device. Every child will continue to learn if we have to go all virtual.
All right, let me bring Bill in here.
Dr. Ray, let's talk about what a typical school day looks like. So under the current scenario, realizing that this could change depending on the circumstances, you would have some children who are at home. You would also have some children in the classroom who are there in person, and you would have a teacher who is teaching to both at the same time. Am I correct in that?
No, sir.
Okay.
So, what we're trying to do is to ensure that whether you're in school at home, you have the same curriculum. We will have a team of teachers at each school that will be virtual teachers. What we're trying to do is lessen the burden on our teachers. You got to understand, everybody's fearful, and this is new to everyone. And we don't want to burden our teachers and overload our teachers. Teachers, they're the backbone of this school district. And as I said before, I've had many focus groups with teachers. I've listened to teachers, surveyed teachers, and that's the one thing our teachers are very concerned about. We don't want to put too much on our teachers. However, we're going to have a group of teachers or virtual teachers that the principals and district level teams will actually choose to teach virtually those students that's at home. If we have in-person instruction, you're going to have a teacher delivering that in-person instruction. Now, let me say, it's in very rare case, you may have a teacher that's doing both, but that's going to be in a rare instance. But we want our teachers to provide a world-class education, whether you in person or virtually.
Right. The idea of one-on-one, it is not new. Sometimes it's called blended learning, but I think that's probably a little bit different than what we're talking about here.
Right.
So did you have some foundation for this going into this? Because the school system, before you became superintendent, had actually talked about one-on-one before.
Yes, you know, it's about an instructional strategy. You know, it's about really moving to project-based learning. And this is something that, you know, we have talked about, but never implemented. Last year, again, we talked about February 2019, just didn't have the funds to implement it. It's about bringing our school district into the 21st century. And this is an instruction tool. Now, let me say this, a device is just a device. It's still predicated on great instruction. And I believe in our teachers. I believe in our students. You know, I was asked when we did and I and my team pushed the one-to-one devices, the question was asked to me, will you put your reputation and your name on the line for moving to a one-to-one school district? Because there's some doubters. I said, I'll put it all on the line for the students of Shelby County Schools. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because this work is personal to me. I grew up here. I'm a lifelong Memphian. And, you know, I have family members who actually teach in the school district. I have nieces and nephews and cousins who's a part of this school district. I'm a product of this school district. So this work is very personal, and I'm going to always put it on the line for our children. And I want them to have the very best.
Mm-hmm. But before I send it back to Eric, as you noted at the top, parents are now making the decision about whether they want to try this in person or want to try to do this online. How are the totals running so far?
So far, we haven't received feedback, but I do know doing a parent survey, over 69% of our parents stated that they were more comfortable with learning virtual. So that's 69% in a survey. So now, you know, just to get some numbers, 10,931 selected at home and virtual options so far. That's 76% right now that's choosing to have virtual instruction.
In terms of the devices and the daunting task of just managing those devices, I mean, the technical support, I break phones, my children break phones, you know, I mean, you break, you know, but more seriously, it's a huge, obviously a huge expense. And so how are you going to manage the tracking and kind of inventory of the devices? Are the kids responsible if they break them? Are the parents responsible? I mean, how does that all work?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you mitigate for risk, and that's built into our overall plan. You know, parents will be trained extensively. Our students will be trained extensively. And it's about us setting those high expectations for our students. And it's about us giving them the opportunity to be responsible. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe in our children. I firmly believe in our parents. And given this opportunity, I know they'll safeguard the device. But, you know, we still have software loaded to where we can track the device if it's lost, if it's stolen. I've done extensive research with Kennesaw State and other school districts whose implemented a one-on-one. Usually the problem with students who may have a device at home, that's when we run into problems of students not really caring for the device as such, or they think the device at home is a little better. But we're gonna work with our students. We're gonna ensure that they properly care for the devices. We will have, ongoing checks. We're gonna, connect with parents. But for the most part, we're gonna trust our students, set the expectations high. We're gonna have different sign-offs, and we expect our students to be good stewards of the device.
You talked about, families that can opt in, opt out. Can teachers opt out of teaching in person? I mean, I say that in part because obviously all the data shows that adults are much more at risk. The older you are, you're
Sure.
more at risk.
Sure.
So far, it's very clear African Americans are much more at risk. Can a teacher opt out of in-person instruction? And if they do so, do they still get paid, or is there another option for them? How does that work?
Again, safety is priority, and it's about giving our teachers options as well, and really listening and hearing from them. This week, we put out a FAQ, but not only that, we sent out a survey for our teachers to, hear from them and to learn just that. Who's comfortable teaching in person? Who's comfortable teaching virtually? Now, we have to look at the data, and we have to allow the data to lead us as far as, staffing. We have to have enough teachers in person if parents choosing in person. But you'll be surprised the number of teachers that I do get who contact me and say, hey, I prefer to go in person. Of course, with all the necessary safety, gear in place, all the PPE to ensure our teachers are safe and to ensure that they can deliver a quality education.
Okay, but they will, just to follow up on that, I mean, a teacher will have to teach, if asked to teach in person, they can't opt out of that and get paid. I mean, they're gonna have to do it.
Well, right now, looking at the number, almost 77% of our parents say they opting in virtually. So it's about now thinking about what teachers that want to teach in person, they may have to teach virtually.
So the problem takes care of itself to some degree.
Absolutely.
One more question, I'll go to Bill. This week, President Trump, in his way, declared via Twitter that he wanted the schools to open nationally and wanted the CDC and the Department of Ed to push those policies so that schools would reopen. And at one point threatened to withhold funding, federal funding that passes down to the local school districts. I think there's some question of whether he could really withhold that funding. It's been budgeted, but to what degree does that sort of rhetoric influence your decision making?
At the end of the day, this is not a political issue. It's a public health and safety issue for me. And at the end of the day, no one is going to force me to send teachers and students in harm's way. No one. And this school board has been very supportive, and we've led the way of keeping our students and teachers safe. But also, Dr. Householder will definitely testify. The early actions we took in March, I think, helped us in the community as well. I actually tweeted about it, about what President Trump said. And that's his opinion. I'm unsure it's backed by science. We're going to allow science, research, and the health officials guide our decision making. And safety to me is not a political issue, and to me it's about keeping our students safe. And let me say this: I spoke with a teacher on her way in this morning. This is what she said. She said, "Why is opening the economy on the backs of schools and teachers?" She felt it very, very unfair. And I said to her, at the end of the day, it's about student, teacher safety, and that's what's going to guide our decision making. Is what's best for our students.
All right, let's go to Bill.
So parents are choosing now. If this starts to look different during the school year, can a parent say, I want my child to attend virtually or in effect change their decision during the school year? Or is the answer that they give now the answer for the entire school year?
Well, we provided in the Returning Stronger guide, we asked parents to make a thoughtful decision. That's why they received this online Return Stronger book to really go through every aspect of the day so that they can make an informed decision. But we are asking parents that once you choose, you do have to stick with your decision until at least to the end of the first semester, because it's about staffing and just teacher-student ratios. It's very difficult, parents switching from one week to another week. And also we have teachers, and I have to keep them in mind as well. And I just want to ensure that we do what's best for students. We have enough teachers in person, we have enough teachers virtually, and sometimes in doing staffing, it's very difficult to continue to adjust daily. However, I know things happen. Shelby County School students are very transient. We're going to never box ourselves, in. Again, the plan, the F in the plan, it talks about flexibility. But we are asking our parents to make that decision, and we will have a route if an extreme circumstance occur. We'll be able to listen and make some adjustments if necessary.
All right. And classrooms before, well, I'll just say pre-pandemic, classrooms were places where you had small groups of students often working or collaborating around a table, and you would have 3 or 4 of these groups in a classroom. It sounds like we're about to go back to where you had the desks laid out and you had everybody at once paying attention to the teacher who was doing one thing instead of breaking up into groups. Is that what this is going to look like?
Well, you can still have groups, but you're going to have to be spaced out appropriately, right? We want our teachers to continue to teach and be very creative. I don't want to limit and halt their creativity if in person, but you can have groups. Students just will be spread out in a way, having on masks, but learning will still occur. Students will receive a world-class education. However, we got to keep them safe.
Just a couple minutes left here. What about the plans for sports, for theater, for band, for all the activities outside the classroom? Are all those on hold, or are you still working through those challenges?
We're still working through with the numbers spiking the way they are. We had a plan for athletics, and right now students can condition. They can do independent workouts in person, but it's under the strictest of guidelines. But if you look at the length of the NBA and what they're doing and how they have to be quarantined and they're tested every so often, no one can come in, they can't go out just to play basketball. We don't have the funding to go to those great lengths to ensure safety. But we're very much aware of our student athletes really want to get back on the field or play, whatever sport they play, even cheerleading, right? We're very cognizant of our students want to condition. And so we're taking measures to ensure their safety to condition. When you come up, you have to be screened properly. You're not sharing, same water sources. You spread out, and it's more individual conditioning. No contact should be made, no physical activity where you have to touch one another, no practicing, if you will. But we're gonna follow TSSAA guidelines. We're gonna continue to work here. We're gonna continue to train our coaches. We're gonna continue to train our student athletes because it's about safety.
What percent, really quickly, what percentage of Shelby County schools have after-school programs? I should know this, but I know some do. I mean, I just see people picking their kids up later, and it gets back to what apparently this teacher said to you. I mean, schools are first and foremost education, but they're also a form of childcare, right? And many people can't go back to work until they get childcare. So what's the story with after-school programs?
You know, we partnered with the YMCA. They've been great partners with us. But of course, if we don't have school, or if the school is closed, or we virtual, we partner with the YMCA to really assist and help us. The district recognized that before and after school care is very important for working with parents. So again, if we're open, we'll have regular before and after school programming. If we're not open, of course, we've been partners with the YMCA. They provided great childcare.
Right. And some more real-time updates right there. So I appreciate your staff being here. Thank
Absolutely.
you for what you're doing and for the challenges ahead. That is all the time we have this week. Please do join us next week. We'll have the CEOs of the three major hospitals, Regional 1, Baptist, and Methodist on all together. And remember, you can get past episodes of the show on the WKNO website, or download the podcast of the show from the Daily Memphian site, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks and good night.